In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there's no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is his slave and messenger, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. In this video, I'll be discussing about the situation between Canada and Saudi Arabian governments, their human rights violations, and their situation from the Quran perspective. So just to give a preview or the situation that happened, basically the Canadian government complained about a woman, a Saudi Arabian woman activist who's been jailed for speaking out against the human rights violations of Saudi Arabia. Women can't drive there and women can't seek livelihood there, which in the Quran it states that we have a right to travel to seek our spiritual and material sustenance, and we also have a right to seek a livelihood. A man and a woman have a right to seek livelihood. Allah is very clear in that in the Quran. So there's two violations right there. Here in Canada, women and men can drive here, but we have to we get extorted by paying for licenses and stickers and insurances. So, we have restrictions here that go against divine law of Allah. So Canadian government is hypocritical. I would say Canada has more human rights than Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia I don't know all the details in Saudi Arabia, but it seems to me that they have a lot of human right violations. They really go against the divine laws of Allah. They execute a lot of people for petty things. And you can see in this situation, they completely stop trade with Canada, which is going to cost both countries billions of dollars. They have thousands of students that get their education here in Canada, and then they have to return back to Saudi Arabia. So they really stole the free will of these students by forcing them. They're allowed in the divine law. All human beings have a right to travel to seek their spiritual and material sustenance, as long as they're not trespassing on private property without permission, as the law says in the Quran. So there's a lot of oppression going on. Like I said before, Canada is very hypocritical because we need passports to travel, we need licenses to travel here, so our rights are being violated as well. You can't even own property here in Canada. You have to lease it. It's all owned by the Crown, and if you don't pay your property tax, they're just going to take your property. So there's lots of injustice here. Both countries have a great deal of work to do in regards to aligning their actions with divine law. The more you operate outside of the divine laws of Allah, the more chaotic, the more oppressive, the more suffering that occurs, and the more you align with divine law, the more abundant, the more peaceful, the more just and harmonious the world will be. So I think it's a great learning lesson for the world stage, to understand that we all are given equal rights under divine law. No one has more rights than another. No one has the right to oppose their will on another. That is, especially if you're, if they have the divine right to travel, and you're making what a law is made lawful unlawful. That is a major sin. That's one of the worst sins you can do. That's associating partners with the law. That's playing God. The only ones who have authority, the only ones that Allah says who has authority over us are the prophets and messengers, not the governments. The government, if you break down the word government, govern, which means control, and then ment is short for mental, which is mind, which is control, mind control. Government is just an apparatus that the shaitan uses to control the people who are lacking in knowledge and understanding of these divine laws of Allah, which we are all subject to. There's no way that we can, nowhere in the universe can we be outside these divine laws. We're all subject to them, even the crawling creatures and the flying ones as well. So I hope they will start understanding these divine laws, and from the understanding the hadiths, this is really playing in the favor of Imam Mahdi. From the hadiths we know there's going to be like 3 men that are sons of a caliph, which is like a leader, will fight for the treasure, which I believe is the Kaaba, but they will not. None of the 3 will obtain it. So I think, and that's before the advent of Imam Mahdi. So it's just showing the volatile nature of the leaders of Saudi Arabia, that they're becoming more chaotic. They're becoming more out of control. They're trying to control, but they're more out of control because they're operating out more and more outside of divine law, and there's going to be consequences to that. I mean, for every action there's a reaction, for cause and effect. So, and that's part of divine law. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. Like I said, both countries are losers in this. They're both have great human rights violations. Canada has no business really complaining about other people's violations until they clean up their own. Like I just named a few. I mean, there's so much. Like Canada's the highest tax country in the world. We have basically the second largest slave population. We're the second highest tax. Like I said, taxation is slavery. If you don't pay your taxes, well, guess what? They'll come with fear and punishment, throw you in jail, whatnot, take your property, take everything you got. If you don't pay up, guess what that is? That's extortion. So that's going against people's free will. That's going against divine law, and that's associating partners with Allah, the unique creator of all that exists. And they're going to be punished for that in the hellfire and rejected and forgotten about in the hereafter if they don't change their ways and repent sincerely. So that's just a warning to the governments out there that you're not your consequences are not going to go unnoticed. So Allah knows everything to the finest details. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you wanted to know more about divine law and stuff and things like that, I plan to make more videos about divine law. It's very important to extract the knowledge out of the Quran about divine law and help implement that. That is the key to Imam Mahdi's success, is implementing these divine laws that will bring about prosperity, advances in technology and spirituality, and in a paradise state globally. So, Imam Mahdi is not going to have a government. Government is complete control. Love is freedom, and freedom is love, and control is fear. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take Allah as your shield. May Allah protect all the believers. May increase us in light, knowledge, and understanding. May Allah guide us to the straight path, which is His laws, His divine laws, and may we implement it, and may we only seek authority from Allah and His prophets and messengers. Peace and blessings. Thank you.